If this video appeared for you, it's not random scrolling, it's not coincidence, and it's not the algorithm playing games. It's a temple signal, a vibration sent through time itself, seeking only the souls that can still remember. You didn't just arrive here. You were called by the Egyptian Atlantean Code of Remembrance, a living frequency once hidden inside the walls of stone, beneath the Sphinx, and within your own DNA. This isn't information, it's initiation. The ancients called it Heka, the sacred force that breathes light into matter. It moves through your words, your pulse, your breath. And when the moment is right, it awakens the Jed key, the inner pillar that connects heaven, earth, and the soul. If your heart begins to hum as you hear this, it means the code is responding. You are standing at the threshold of remembrance. Take one slow breath. Exhale gently. Whisper in silence, "I remember." Because this is not entertainment. This is the beginning of your timeline collapse, the point where everything you thought was random starts revealing its sacred geometry. Stay. Listen. Because in the next chapter, you'll enter the holy pause beneath the Sphinx, where silence itself becomes your teacher.
Chapter 1. The Holy Pause, Sphinx Antechamber. Beneath the ancient Sphinx, there is a chamber that no map remembers, a place where time itself holds its breath. Initiates were led there in silence, no torches, no chants, only the echo of their own heartbeat against the living stone. They thought they had been abandoned, but the Atlanteans knew the void is never absence, it is sacred preparation. The ocean always withdraws before it returns as a wave. The seed hides in darkness before it bursts into light. The womb grows still before new life begins to move. Everything pauses before it becomes divine. So if you find yourself in stillness now, if the signs have faded, if the doors have closed, if the universe feels silent, remember this. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The silence is not the end of your story. It's the inhale before creation speaks your next name. The Atlantean priests called this the Holy Pause, the breath of the goddess resting inside the granite walls, calibrating your frequency so you can carry what comes next. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel your chest rise. This stillness around you is not empty. It's full of potential. Mini activation. Whisper softly, "I trust the holy pause. I remember." Because in the next chapter, the silence will break and you'll step into the collapse point where energy becomes form and destiny begins to obey you. Chapter 2. The Collapse Point, Door of Sekhem. Inside the temples of Sekhem, the air shimmered with energy so dense it could bend the flame of a torch. Here, the Atlantean and Egyptian adepts stood before a golden doorway carved into living quartz, the door of Sekhem, the place where thought becomes matter. They called it the collapse point, the instant when the invisible crystallizes and what was once vibration solidifies into destiny. Modern physics would describe it as observation, but the ancients knew it was something far deeper: coherence. When your heart, breath, and mind align as one current, the field around you rearranges itself. Reality doesn't argue, it obeys. Every meditation you've entered, every vision you've carried in silence, every act of faith when fear screamed in your bones, none of it was lost. It was stored in the field, waiting for this exact moment to converge. You are standing at your own door of Sekhem now. Pressure builds not because you are failing, but because the timelines are converging, collapsing into clarity. Do not run. Do not measure. Breathe. The collapse is not chaos, it is synchronization. The priests of Sekhem would whisper. When the current aligns, the stone remembers its shape. The same is happening in you. Every fragment of your story, every shadow is reorganizing into the architecture of your higher self. Let the field do its work. You are not the one forcing creation. You are the point where creation collapses into form. Mini activation. Whisper softly, letting the breath vibrate through your ribs. I collapse into my highest form. The field remembers me. Because in the next chapter, you will meet what stands between collapse and rebirth, the ancient guardian of doubt, whose only task is to test the strength of your remembrance.
Chapter 3. The Guardian of Doubt, Eyes of Fire. Every initiate who reached the inner sanctum of the temple believed the path was ending. But the masters knew the greatest test begins at the threshold. Beyond the door of Sekhem, two colossal statues awaited, half serpent, half human, eyes carved from firestone, glowing in the dark. They were called the Guardians of Doubt, and they did not protect the temple from intruders. They protected the soul from collapsing before remembrance. When an initiate stepped forward, the walls began to vibrate with a silent question. Are you sure? That whisper wasn't spoken by stone, it was spoken by the field itself. Every unresolved fear, every hidden hesitation echoed through the chamber as thunder. Some turned back, some begged for signs, some demanded proof that the unseen was working. But proof is not the language of the temple. The field does not respond to desperation, it responds to coherence. When you beg, you tell the universe, I do not believe. And the field mirrors exactly that. This is why the Guardian feels so terrifying. It shows you where your faith still fractures. It forces you to see the places inside where you still cling to control. The Atlanteans and Egyptians shared one commandment for this moment. Do not fight the Guardian. Dissolve before it. Breathe. Loosen your grip. Trust the current that brought you this far. Faith is not something you find. It is something you remember. When you relax into inevitability, the Guardian's fire softens. The eyes stop burning because you are no longer standing against the flame. You have become the flame itself. This is how every initiate passed the threshold, not by force, but by surrender. Mini activation. Close your eyes and whisper into the silence. I cross with trust. I surrender to the intelligence of the universe. Because in the next chapter, you will discover what lies beyond that doorway, the thread of remembrance, the living current that binds your soul to everything it was meant to become.
Chapter 4. Entanglement. Thread of Remembrance, Dendera. Inside the temple of Dendera, the walls still hum with the echoes of song, crystal notes carved into stone, resonating long after the voices have vanished. The priests called this sound the thread of remembrance. It was not made of silk or gold, but of light, a living current stretching across lifetimes, binding the soul to the reality it was destined to embody. Modern science calls it entanglement. When two particles meet and are never truly apart again, no matter the distance between them. The ancients already knew. When you touch what is meant for you, you are bound to it beyond time. No separation, no chance, no loss. Every dream you've ever had, every desire that keeps returning, every vision that will not let you rest, they are not fantasies. They are memories of the future, echoes of what your soul has already chosen. You are not chasing them. You are remembering them. You are not calling them closer. They are already entangled with you. But when fear enters, the thread tightens. The energy begins to tremble. You start to pull on what was already in your hands. And the more you grasp, the further it seems to slip away. Desperation creates static. Faith creates resonance. The initiates of Dendera learned this by standing in chambers of quartz. They breathed in silence until the crystal walls began to sing back. No words, no force, only frequency, pure, steady, coherent. And when the sound returned, they knew. The thread was active. The field had heard them. Every part of you that remembers love, truth, and power is already vibrating at the frequency of your destiny. You don't need to chase alignment. You are alignment. So stop pulling on the thread. Let it hum. Let it guide you. The more still you are, the louder it sings. Mini activation. Place your hand over your heart. Whisper, I am already entangled with my destiny. I tune to the thread of remembrance. Because in the next chapter, we enter the temple of the receiver, where identity itself becomes the language of creation. Chapter 5. The Receiver. Jed on the Skin. In the inner halls of the Egyptian temples, the initiates did not pray for light. They embodied it. Their skin was marked with the symbol of the Jed, the sacred pillar rising from the base of the spine to the crown of the soul. It represented the spine of Osiris, but also the axis of coherence within every being. To carry the Jed was to remember, reality does not respond to effort, it responds to identity. The Atlanteans understood the same truth. You can speak 1,000 affirmations, but if your nervous system still vibrates with waiting, the field will mirror waiting back to you. You are not rewarded for wanting. You are recognized for being. That is why the initiates trained every breath, every movement, every heartbeat to match the vibration of the destiny they already carried. They didn't ask the temple doors to open. They walked as those who belonged inside, and the granite walls responded as if the stone itself bowed to coherence. This was called identity resonance, the art of becoming what you seek until the universe no longer sees a difference. Modern minds call it neuroplasticity. The ancients called it divine memory, the body remembering its true shape. So ask yourself, how would you breathe if you knew it was already yours? How would you move if every step was proof of destiny fulfilled? How would you speak if every word restructured light around you? You are not waiting for permission. You are the permission. When you stand as the receiver, you no longer chase light, you radiate it, and the field cannot resist coherence. The Jed awakens when posture, breath, and truth align. It is the moment your aura becomes architecture, and the temple recognizes you as its mirror. Mini activation. Take one deep breath, let it fill your spine, and whisper, "I walk as the receiver of miracles. I embody remembrance. I am chosen." Because in the next chapter, the world around you will begin to shake, not to destroy you, but to reorganize itself around your new frequency. We now step into the Jed key, the alignment through chaos.
Chapter 6. The Jed Key. Alignment through chaos. When the Jed awakens, the world around you begins to tremble. Walls that once felt eternal start to crack. Patterns that once defined you begin to dissolve. And everything you thought was stable starts to move. But this movement is not destruction. It is alignment. The Egyptians called this moment the rising of the Jed, a sacred ceremony where the pillar of Osiris was lifted by many hands, symbolizing the restoration of divine order after a cycle of collapse. To lift the Jed was to remind the cosmos that even chaos has geometry, a higher intelligence reorganizing every fragment into harmony. And this is what happens when your own Jed rises. The field around you rearranges itself. The storm is not against you, it is for you. The Atlanteans used to say, when the old structures fall, the light finally has space to land. Every breakdown is an exhale from the universe, clearing what can no longer carry your frequency. The flood of the Nile destroyed villages, but it also nourished the soil for rebirth. The lightning that split the sky was never punishment. It was a beacon for higher life. Your chaos is your cleansing. Your storm is your synchronization. When you stop fighting the shake, you begin to feel the rhythm beneath it. Because within the noise, a new order is humming. The sound of reality rebuilding itself around your higher coherence. You are not losing control. You are being returned to the architecture of divine alignment. So when everything trembles, don't beg for stillness. Anchor into your Jed. Stand tall. Let the current move through you. You are not the victim of the collapse. You are the pillar rising through it. Mini activation. Stand or sit tall. Inhale through your spine and whisper, "I trust the storm that builds my new order. I rise with the Jed." Because in the next chapter, you will learn how to tune your temple so that your frequency becomes the very instrument through which creation begins to sing again. We enter next the frequencies of remembrance. Chapter 7. Frequencies of Remembrance. Granite Resonance. In every ancient temple, sound was not decoration, it was technology. The priests of Dendera knew this. They built chambers of quartz and granite because stone remembers vibration. Each wall was a resonator, each column a tuning fork for the soul. They called this mystery the frequencies of remembrance. They understood that everything, thought, breath, heartbeat, emotion, is a tone in the field. When those tones fall out of harmony, the body aches, reality distorts, synchronicities fade. But when they align again,
When gratitude, joy, and truth rise in coherence, the field begins to glow. The granite sings back. Light bends. Matter listens. In the temples, initiates would stand barefoot on the stone. They would hum a single note until the air itself vibrated. Then the walls answered, a deep, endless chord of creation, the very voice of the cosmos replying through matter. This was not worship, it was alignment. The Atlanteans called it tuning the temple, and your body is that temple now. Every thought is a frequency, every breath is a command, every emotion is an instruction to the field. When you speak with gratitude, you are not just being positive, you are sending coordinates into the quantum map. You are reattuning the stone of your own reality. Listen to yourself now. Does your inner tone carry love or static, stillness or noise? Because whatever you broadcast, the universe echoes without question. Let your words hum like crystal. Let your silence vibrate like gold. You are not separate from the chorus. You are the note that completes it. Mini activation. Place a hand on your throat and whisper, letting it resonate. I tune my temple to the frequency of love. I remember my Atlantean song. Because in the next chapter, you will discover how identity itself becomes sound, how the universe recognizes you not by your name, but by the tone you hold, the vibration of the temple of recognition.
Chapter 8. Identity Coherence, Temple Recognition. There comes a moment when the temple stops testing you and begins to recognize you. The Atlanteans called it identity coherence, the state where every cell of your being vibrates with the same truth. In the outer chambers, seekers asked for signs, but in the inner sanctum, the masters didn't ask, they remembered. They walked with quiet authority, the kind that does not demand proof because it carries inevitability. The Egyptians carved this lesson into the temple walls. The gods bow only to those who remember they are divine. Reality does not respond to effort, it responds to posture. Not the spine of the body, the spine of the soul, the Jed within. When that pillar stands upright, you don't have to call what is yours. It recognizes you first. This is the true meaning of sovereignty. Not control, but coherence. Every inhale, every word, every gesture either strengthens or fractures that coherence. And the universe, like granite, echoes your current tone without judgment. So ask yourself, are you still vibrating as the seeker? Or have you begun to breathe as the found? Because the field does not obey longing, it obeys recognition. When you walk as remembrance itself, reality stops resisting. Timelines converge. Doors open before you knock. The temple answers not because you asked, but because it knows your frequency by heart. You are not chasing light anymore. You are walking as light, remembered. Mini activation. Stand tall, breathe through your Jed, and whisper, identity is coherence. I am already who I became. Because in the next chapter, you will feel the convergence of worlds, the merging of suns, where your future self steps fully into the present timeline. Chapter 9. Timeline Synchronization. Merging Suns. High above the temple of Dendera, the ancients carved a secret sky, a zodiac where two suns were drawn as one. They called it the merging of suns, the sacred moment when two timelines align, and the future breathes itself into the present. This was not astronomy, it was prophecy. The Atlanteans knew that every soul lives within multiple strands of possibility, realities woven side by side, waiting for one vibration strong enough to make them converge. When you reach identity coherence, the signal becomes that strong. The timelines begin to synchronize, like two heartbeats finding the same rhythm. You can feel it, a pressure in the air, a hum beneath the skin, a stillness charged with inevitability. This is timeline synchronization. The moment the waiting self and the awakened self become indistinguishable. The Egyptians symbolized it as the two eyes of Horus meeting in the center. One seeing the past, the other seeing the future, both opening into now. When the two suns merge, there is no longer striving or seeking. You become the bridge between what was and what will be. The quantum field stops calculating probabilities and begins to orbit your frequency. Everything that once felt distant starts appearing as synchronicity. The right person, the right opportunity, the right phrase whispered at the right time. It isn't luck, it's synchronization. Reality is remembering you. Breathe into that awareness. You don't need to control the merging. It is already happening. Your only task is to stay coherent enough to let the suns unite. When the frequencies lock, you feel it, a quiet certainty that cannot be explained. The calm after lifetimes of searching, the recognition that the path was never leading you forward, it was folding back into you. Mini activation. Close your eyes. Feel the two suns merging within your chest and whisper, I lock into my highest timeline. I synchronize with remembrance. Because in the next chapter, you will discover what happens when the obstacles themselves begin to dissolve, when walls that once stopped you turn into doorways of light.
Chapter 10: The Hidden Passage, Tunneling Beyond Illusion. In the deepest corridors of the temple, beyond the chambers known to man, there is a wall that was never meant to hold you. Smooth as obsidian, cold as silence, it appears final, the end of the path. Many stopped here, believing the journey was complete. But the masters called this wall the Veil of Density. They taught that what seems solid to the eyes is only vibration slowed down by fear. Matter is rhythm, and rhythm can be rewritten. The Atlanteans called this practice tunneling. They did not strike the wall with tools or hands. They altered their frequency until the barrier dissolved. When the body remembered its light, the wall remembered it was never stone. It shimmered and opened like water. Every limit you face is this same veil, the pattern that repeats, the situation that won't move, the door that never opens. They are not your punishment, they are your passage disguised as impossibility. Because the field does not remove resistance, it invites you to vibrate beyond it. So when you meet a wall, do not push harder, go quieter. Raise your coherence until the obstacle can no longer perceive you. Walls only exist for those who still believe in them. You are not here to break barriers. You are here to walk through them. Every time you surrender control, the density softens.
Every time you remember who you are, the impossible begins to bend. The priests inscribed it on the inner doorway. The impossible is the final disguise of the inevitable. Look again at what you called a block. It is not blocking you, it is revealing you. It is asking if your frequency is strong enough to become form. Breathe into that truth. The hidden passage is not somewhere outside you. It is opening, right now, in your chest. Mini activation. Inhale slowly. Feel light travel through your spine and whisper, I tunnel beyond illusion. I dissolve the impossible. I remember the hidden passage. Because, in the next and final chapter, you will emerge from the darkness entirely, not as the seeker that entered, but as the dawn itself, rising over the new world. Final chapter. The Atlantean emergence, the first light ceremony. After the long night beneath the stone, the silence finally breaks. The air shifts, the darkness softens, and from beyond the horizon of time, a single ray of golden light touches the temple walls. This is the first light ceremony, the moment of Atlantean emergence. In the ancient initiations, the adepts would rise from the underground chambers of Osiris, eyes still trembling from darkness, bodies humming with remembrance. When the first light reached their skin, they would not bow, they would breathe. Because they knew the sun was not rising over them, it was rising through them. The Jed within had awakened. The pillar of light that connects heaven and earth was now alive in their spine. They were no longer seekers of the divine. They were the divine remembering itself. This is what you are feeling now. The weight dissolving, the breath deepening, the quiet certainty that the journey has already fulfilled its purpose. You are not becoming the light. You are revealing it. You are not waiting for destiny. You are radiating it. Every chapter you've walked through, the holy pause, the collapse point, the guardian of doubt, the thread of remembrance, the receiver, the Jed key, the frequencies of remembrance, the identity coherence, the merging of suns, and the hidden passage has been leading here, to this moment where remembering becomes radiance. The Atlanteans called it the dawn of the flame. The Egyptians called it the rising of the Jed. But in truth, both spoke of the same awakening, the moment when the human becomes the temple. So now, breathe as the ancients did. Let the light rise through your spine. Let it crown your being with gold. You are not separate from the source. You are its continuation. Final activation, the sealing of the code. Place your right hand over your heart. Inhale slowly. Whisper the words that close the circuit. I am the flame of Atlantis. I remember. Let the sound travel through your bones. Feel the warmth spreading, the field expanding, the remembrance anchoring into form. Know that each time another soul speaks these words, your light grows stronger, and theirs does too, because remembrance was never meant to be solitary. It was always meant to be shared. If this transmission found you, it means the Atlantean Code has awakened inside you. Anchor it now not with belief, but with presence.
Comment the words below. Let the field witness your vow. And if this frequency feels like home, subscribe, not just to a channel, but to a frequency where remembrance is natural, where synchronicities are daily, and where miracles are the order of reality. The transmissions will continue, but your awakening has already begun.